Hi everybody, and welcome to part 2 of drawing the portrait. And if you are following me here on YouTube or on Patreon, then you saw that last week Friday, we were focusing on drawing the nose in connection to the mouth, and we were looking for negative space that is in the contour here. And for part 2 on this tutorial, I want to start getting the focus on the eyes. Now, this model here is not looking into the camera, but she is looking slightly upwards, as you can see here. And there is something very, very important to keep in mind when you are drawing a model that is not looking straight at you, but is looking away or looking down or whatever side. Then you have to imagine that inside here there simply are ping pong balls, and on that ping pong ball there is an iris, of course, and a pupil. Now, what is happening? And this is very, very important indeed. When your model is looking straight at you, then you can see that same ping pong ball with that iris and the pupil, and they are completely straight looking at you. But as soon as your model is watching away, up or down, when she was looking down, then the iris would go here. When she was looking up, then the iris is here. Then the ellipse slightly changes. Now, this change of the ellipse is very, very little, but very, very important, because if you do not take notice of that, then your portrait will be will get a disappointment. And as you can see here, it's just a very, very little difference here, but it is there. This iris is going this way, while this one is looking straight at you. So that's the big difference. Imagine that ping pong ball in a square. Then if you divided it, then your iris would be here when your model is looking straight at you. But once she's looking up, then that whole circle goes away, goes upwards, and also the circle changes of shape. Now, this model, and this is also a very good demonstration, I think. This is the same model as she is the same girl, but here she is looking straight at us. So here you see the eye as is here, looking straight at us. And that's the big difference. So for this tutorial, we will be drawing this same girl here, but then looking upwards. So there's a huge difference, as you can see. Now this drawing I still have to finish up. I was doing this one with pastel and stuff, and I will record that later. For now, we will focus on drawing that different kind of ellipse. So stay tuned. So let's start drawing. And the first thing that you will notice is that this is a horizontal line, but in this case the eyes are not on a horizontal line, but slightly diagonal, as you can see here and in the sketch on the left side. And what we are focusing on is that ellipse that changes. Now, because of the eyes are looking up, also the bow of the upper eyelid tends to curl around that space of the iris, which is a little bit rounded, of course. So this is also important in getting a convincing sketch of the eyes looking up. And you can see it here, how the oval has changed. So we simply start to draw and observe as close as possible. Now, these are the inner corners of the eyes, and here is an extra tip for you too. And that is that you can simply measure out the width of the left eye, which is, say about 1.5 centimeters. Then you can see that the other eye and the inner corner of the second eye is the same width as the left eye is. So now you know, and you can see it here again, now you know where the second eye will be. So you can simply measure this out with a ruler or with your pencil, of course. Now, what is also very important is that the second eye is smaller than the left eye. It's hardly noticeable, but as you saw, it's quite a difference. So I measure that out too, and then I know how big my second eye is. And of course, that second eye also has to look up. Otherwise, my model would look crooked. And so I keep observing as good as I can. And here you can see where the eyebrow, the right eyebrow, starts. And that is when you put up a vertical line here, you know where the eyebrow will be. So that is also very important to check out and find those connecting lines. Now, once you have your eyes in place, it's time to start drawing in the shadows. And these, of course, are also very important. You can see it here in the model. There's a lot of shadow, a lot more in the right eye than there is on the left side eye. Then you can see here the negative space. And in that way you can draw the outer contour line. So you have to watch that one carefully too. And then you keep searching for all those shadowy and dark parts, the light and the dark parts. Now the right side of this right eye is completely white, while on the left side of that eyeball there is a lot more shadow. And here is the fleshy part just underneath the left eyebrow. And there's a lot of shadow too, of course, not as dark as in the right eye, but there sure is a lot of shadow. And also keep notice of the two lines around those eyes, and that's the thickness of the flesh. You need that to draw that in, also to get a convincing pair of eyes. Now underneath the left eye there is a lot of shadow too, so I simply draw that in. And for this sketch I'm using a simple charcoal pencil, but of course you can easily also do it with the graphite pencils or pastel pencils if you have them. But this is a mere sketch, and I'm simply observing and trying to figure out how to connect and how to draw in those ellipses And it's good to take a close look before you start to do a complete drawing of the model. Last week we did the nose and the mouth separately, and in this lesson I'm taking a close look at those eyes. And here you can see that edge here of that right eye, and still it's looking upwards, just as the left eye. Here on the right side of that eyeball there's shadow, while on the left side of the eyeball there is a lot of light. So I simply try to draw that in, and this is where the eyebrow will be. And here I'm checking my ellipses, and they're quite okay. So it is hardly noticeable, of course, but the ellipses are very, very important to get a convincing pair of eyes going. So I hope you will give this a try, and if you think these tips were helpful, please give this video a big thumbs up. And don't forget to check, maybe it's something for you, on my Patreon page. I am doing all my tutorials live, so maybe you can check that out. For now, I thank you for watching, and of course I hope to see you again next Friday.